Here we go. We are recording. So let's start with that. Alright folks, welcome to my stream. It's supposed to be recording and then I'll upload it later. So today's the topic from the Free Thought Project. As far as I know, very reputable source. We have breaking news. New York fire commissioners are calling for a new 9/11 investigation citing overwhelming evidence of explosives. Multiple fire commissioners from the New York area have passed a resolution calling for a new investigation into 9/11, citing the evidence of explosives. So, a little redundancy there. Alright, let's get started. History was made this month in regard to 9/11 as New York area fire commissioners called for a new investigation into the tragic events that unfolded that day. The resolution called for a new investigation due to the overwhelming evidence that pre-planted explosives ... caused the destruction of the 3 World Trade Center buildings. On July 24, 2019, Franklin Square Munson Fire District, which oversees a volunteer fire department serving a hamlet of 30,000 residents just outside of Queens, New York, became the first legislative body in the country to officially support a new investigation into the events of 9/11, according to the architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth. The resolution calling for a new investigation was drafted by Commissioner Christopher Gioia, and it was immediately and unanimously approved by the 5 commissioners. We got a quote here. "We're a tight-knit community and we never forget our fallen brothers and sisters. You believe that the entire fire service of New York is on board, or you better believe that the entire fire service of New York State is on board. We will be an unstoppable force," said Commissioner Christopher Gioia, adding, "We were the first fire district to pass this resolution. We won't be the last." According to the report, the impact of 9/11 on the community extends well beyond the victims and their grieving families. On September 12, 2001, the Franklin Square Fire Department was called in to assist with the massive rescue and recovery effort that was just getting underway. Countless members of the department, including Gioia and Commissioner Philip Malloy, then rank-and-file firefighters, spent weeks on the pile, searching in vain for civilians and fellow responders who might still be alive. Today, Malloy is one of thousands suffering from chronic health effects. Wow. The department also lost one of its own, Thomas J. Hetzel, affectionately referred to as Tommy by the commissioners. Hetzel was a full-time member of the New York Fire Department in addition to serving as a volunteer firefighter in Franklin Square. A touching memorial to Hetzel was on display during the meeting, and Hetzel's widow, parents, and sister were all in attendance. The Hetzel and Evans families were very appreciative of the proceedings, Gioia commented the day after the meeting. "They know it's an uphill struggle, but at least they have hope." You know what, I'm going to do something here. I'm struggling to read this. Let's get a little bigger, shall we? So much easier to read when it's nice and large. Oh, come on back. Okay, the Hetzel and Evans families were very appreciative of the proceedings, Gioia commented the day after the meeting. "They know it's an uphill struggle, but at least they have hope, which is something they haven't had in a long time." The importance of this resolution, especially coming from a legislative body of firefighters, cannot be understated. The impact of first responders calling for a new investigation over the use of explosives is massive. The naysayers, who call those who question the official narrative kooks, will have a hard time going after fire commissioners. That's right. Here we come, YouTube. This move is yet another blow to the highly questionable and hole-filled narrative, as TFTP reported earlier this year, in another major move from the great folks over at Lawyers Committee for 911, over at the Lawyers Committee for 9/11 Inquiry, Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth, and 9/11 victim members Robert McIlvaine and Barbara Kurkowski Rastelli. Why is everything so hard to read and talk at the moment? A joint federal lawsuit has been filed to assess any evidence the FBI may have known about that contributed to the destruction of the towers on 9/11, which they may have kept from Congress. That's not good. The complaint cites, I knew I was going to do that. The complaint cites the failure of the FBI and its 9/11 Review Commission to access key 9/11 related evidence that the FBI can be shown to have had or been aware of regarding 1. The use of pre-placed explosives to destroy the World Trade Center buildings, and 1, 2, and 7. The arrest and investigation of the quote-unquote high-fivers observed photographing and celebrating the attacks on the World Trade Center on 9/11. Terrorist financing related the reported Saudi support for the 9/11 hijackers. Recovered plane parts, including the serial numbers from all 3 crashed locations. Video from cameras mounted inside and outside the Pentagon, and cell phone communications from passengers aboard planes. According to the press release on Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth, this is evidence relevant to the 9/11 Review Commission's and the FBI's compliance with the mandate from Congress, which should have been assessed by the FBI and the 9/11 Review Commission and reported to Congress. The complaint also cites the destruction by FBI of evidence related to the high-fivers, period. Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth has joined in bringing the counts that involve the evidence of the World Trade Center's explosive demolition and evidence related to the high-fivers, while the other plaintiffs are party to all counts. What do we have here? We've got a little video, huh? Shall we press play? 1 hour and 39 minutes. I don't think we're going to watch an hour and 39 minutes. But that gives me a minute to drink some water.
I got an idea though. So, yes, if it was behind the cameras, we'll be looking right under the cameras.
So you're looking at it but not the cameras.
We'll be looking at the cameras.
Did you know a 3rd tower fell on 9/11? Come on. Yeah.
Okay, so gentlemen, the live stream has begun.
The bald guy looks like the keyboard player from The Tonight Show.
So, who will speak first? Richard, will you speak first?
Not sure how this is going to go today.
Not sure.
We're quite excited about the opportunity to get the evidence into the record, in discovery. I mean, for the first time, really. This is
Excellent.
This is amazing, and it's all the work of the Lawyers Committee for 9/11 Inquiry. Dave Meismichael, Nick Harrison, all the other great lawyers there.
Crowdsource the truth.
Relentless.
What we did.
You know what that means? That means share this video. That's what that means.
Of architects and engineers, they assembled and put together for the past 10 years an amazing array of scientific forensic evidence that conclusively shows that the World Trade Center towers came down through pre-planted explosives, controlled demolition bombs, and that was packaged by the Lawyers Committee and put into the grand jury petition, which was up and down in New York City in the Southern District. And it's our understanding that a grand jury is being convened or has been convened to consider that evidence for the first time.
I don't like flies.
In addition, we submitted to them a supplement. It's called People with Material Information. And there's a supplement that is a public, and there's a supplement that's secret, being that's the secret one is the one that we want them to consider in depth. So we're here today in a new action. This is an historical action, and it's really opening up the process
yes,
in a
it
way
is.
that hasn't been before.
Itchy nose.
Transcended now New York City to an extent. And what we're doing is a lawsuit under the Administrative Procedure Act and the Federal Mandamus Act. And what it does, it calls for declaratory relief and an injunctive relief. And what that means is we want the judge or the courts to decide that the evidence that we're putting forth or the cause of action is a legitimate cause of action, and we want them to order the FBI to do certain things. And what the FBI has to do is under the 9/11 Review Commission, they were supposed to assess any evidence that was available to them that relates back to the crimes in any way of 9/11 crimes, and they were supposed to make an.
Now, many of you don't know this about me. In fact, probably none of you know this about me, but my mother, Patricia Avila, she passed away in 2001. On 9/11, she was in the Reno, Nevada airport with her husband, my stepfather, James, and it was his birthday on the 6th, and her birthday was the 12th, and it was the 11th that they were going to Reno to celebrate their birthdays together. So when they got off the plane and they're walking through the terminal, obviously to go rent a car and, you know, go to the hotel, my mom fell behind, and my stepdad turned around and said, "Hun, you okay?" And my mom said, "I don't know." And you know, it's kind of a messed up situation. But he's like, "You want to sit down?" So he walked her over to a bench in the airport there by the baggage claim, and helped her sit down, and then her jaw dropped, mouth open, wide open, and her eyes rolled into the back of her head, and she was out. She had an aneurysm. They took her to, at the time it was Washoe Medical Center, and she went into a coma, and the 11th, obviously, you know, she had a history of mental illness, you know, nervous breakdowns, psychotic episodes, that sort of thing, alcoholic, just bad past marriages. My biological father beat her bloody, and my brothers. I had 3 brothers, currently only have 2 left, half brothers, but I really only acknowledge 1. It's kind of sad. So, neither here nor there, just background. But my stepdad decided to take her off life support on her birthday. And a few months earlier, before I went into the Victory Outreach Men's Home in Oakland to get spiritually fortified, she had her pacemaker replaced. And I visited her in the hospital, and she went through the Lord's Prayer with me, and I prayed for her, and she accepted Christ for the first time in her life. She did not want to read the Bible. I told her, I said, "I'll get you a Bible, you know, an easy to read Bible," but she said, "I don't want to read the Bible, son." So, you know, you can get them to Jesus, but you can't always force them to read the Word. She's old. At any rate, you know, 9/11, she had the aneurysm in the airport, and on her birthday, she was taken off of life support and was released into the loving arms of our Lord Jesus Christ. And the 13th is when I found out, and it was really, really, it was bad. I guess she'd been trying to contact me for a couple weeks. I think she wrote me a letter, and she had been trying to call the numbers that I gave her, left messages, and none of the leadership in the Victory Outreach Ministry there on MacArthur, it was Pastor Larry Vigil at the time, he passed away since then, but they weren't giving me the messages. So my heart was so broken. I cried for like 2 weeks literally in the sanctuary. You know, every day I would bring my guitar with me, and I'd go to the sanctuary, or I'd go up into the little tower. It was a church that was made out of a movie theater that God actually showed me a few weeks before I got there. Totally crazy stuff, visions, dreams and visions, places and people before I ever was there or had seen it or met any of them. So just very powerful thing. So 9/11 is very significant to me. I know that a lot of wonderful people lost their lives that day, and the days after, and people are still suffering from symptoms that are related to that. So it's just tragic all the way around. I mean, it affects everybody in some way, shape, or form. So though I didn't lose anybody in those tragedies, that main tragedy, I did lose my mom that day, and I found out about it 3 days later, on the 13th. So, I've got a stake in all of this, but I see it as God's mercy because, as I said, she had a history of mental illness, and anything catastrophic that would happen would cause her to go into an episode. You know, I know it's okay to talk to yourself, but when you're standing there in the kitchen and you're playing with spoons and muttering very, very strange stuff, there's something wrong. You know, there's a misfire somewhere up in the synapses, something going on up there. It was sad. So I see it as God's mercy that that day she had an aneurysm before she ever knew any of it. She didn't get to know it. She didn't get to see it. And she didn't have to go through the suffering that would be inevitable from the moment she saw the news. She would start thinking it was the end of the world. So, anyways, now you know a little something about me. Oh, what happened? What happened? No. Why? Oh, I know what happened. I didn't push the play button, I pushed praying medic. So let's push the play button.
Assessment, and eventually
Continue listening to these guys.
that to the,
Looks like I got a
the 9/11 Review
text
Commission,
message from somebody.
and that this is evidence that was not considered by the original 9/11 commission. And what we've done now, we have a 7-count complaint. The first count has to do with the World Trade Center pre-planned explosive evidence. That's which is in the original petition for the grand jury. But it also has evidence of what we call the high fivers, or the FBI calls. And these were people in New Jersey that were filming the event, the
high
crimes
fivers
that went down, and were eventually arrested in New Jersey. And there are large files that the FBI have on that the 9/11 investigations or the original 9/11 committee did not know about. So, in other words, the FBI had a responsibility to assess this information and to give it to the commission to consider it. And it's a legislative mandate. It's not something arbitrary. It's something that Congress is involved in that report.
There on the thing? Is that about Tommy Robinson, or is that somebody else?
It has to do with destruction of evidence, because that's our understanding. Just when this was happening, when there was a mandate to do this assessment, the pictures may have been destroyed. All right, so we want an accounting of that.
That's
There's
not good.
also an account there having to do with the Saudi financing. There is a civil litigation now that's discovered 3 tranches of evidence, which seems like a voluminous evidence that was never considered by the original 9/11 commission. There is evidence having to do with cameras in the Pentagon, not too far from where we stand now. A lot of people don't know there were cameras there that had to have recordings, and those recordings have never, to our knowledge, have never been made public. There's a section on plane parts, and the Pentagon. Not too far from where we stand now. A lot of people don't know there were cameras there that had to have recordings, and those recordings have never, to our knowledge, have never been made public. There's a section on plane parts, and the Pentagon. Not too far from where we stand now. A lot of people don't know there were cameras there that had to have recordings, and those recordings have never been made public. There's a section on plane parts, There's the plane parts, individual parts, that often many of them have serial numbers, and we want to have disclosed those serial numbers and those plane parts in a process of an assessment made by the FBI. What's the import of that? Because that would identify what hit the Pentagon. If a plane hit the Pentagon, it would tell us what plane hit the Pentagon through the serial numbers.
Cruising for a bruising fly.
And the same in China.
Oh, there's one now.
You've got the action that's happening in the Southern District of New York. To open a grand jury to investigate all the evidence. This is a new matter compelling the FBI to actually investigate. Give us just the specifics again briefly.
What's very significant, this is a lawsuit. What's happening in New York is we have petitioned the government to do what they're supposed to do.
Why does it sound like there's somebody talking over him?
The FBI and the Department of Justice for failure to do what they're supposed to do. And
He's ready now.
to rule
So he's on his
yes,
iPhone.
they had an obligation to assess this evidence. They had an obligation to present.
Anyways, that's getting a little, who's this guy?
And this
Who's this dude?
He died walking into the building.
This is the live stream camera.
And
Acceleration, as fast as a bowling ball falling out of the sky. So what we have is the evidence for explosive controlled demolition. The evidence is in the forensic evidence.
Explosive
too, it shows
controlled
evidence of
demolition.
thermite incendiaries. Now, we bring that over to the Twin Towers, which the FBI also saw this evidence. And we have evidence for the explosive demolition of the Twin Towers. Now, Bobby McElvain was in the Twin Towers when these explosions happened.
Oh,
And I'd
wow.
like to introduce his father here, Bob McElvain, who's the inspiration behind the
Is that Danny Rand
Bobby McElvain Act, which we've been taking to
Iron Fist
legislators now.
in the green
trying to get
jacket?
them to sponsor it for a couple of years at least. Actually, 10 years since the very beginning.
I hope you can hear the audio.
The McElvain Act is draft legislation, which would force a real
I'll preview it
investigation
before I upload it.
into the destruction of all three towers. Bob, can you say more about the opportunity you have here?
well, the opportunity is tremendous, but I'm doing this forever, and I am optimistic, but I am pessimistic. You understand what I'm saying? But just to clarify about Bobby, I'm 100% sure he died walking into the building.
This is the live stream camera.
And really, because I jumped on board with architects and engineers, I looked into it so much, because we found Bobby like the next day. We took him to the pathologist, or the ambulance took him to the pathologist, so he had a postmortem examination on Tuesday the 12th. But of course, so we can never figure out exactly what happened. He was found in
Listen to that later. That's a great idea. I didn't understand what you meant.
architects and engineers, and my investigation.
That's
also,
weird.
Bobby was walking into the building. He didn't work in the building. He worked at Merrill Lynch across the street. And he was vice president of media relations. He just started the job a month before. But he was living up on 66th Street and 2nd Avenue. So he took the subway
66th
down,
and
came
2nd
down to
Avenue.
And so I think what happened, he was walking through to cut through to get to Merrill Lynch. And by the nature of his injuries, specifically the chest and the head, it was, you know, they talk about explosions. I'd rather say a big-time detonation. The 9/11 Commission report, they spent one little line, I think it's on page 242. A fireball came down, a powerful fireball came down one elevator shaft, which was 50, because they couldn't possibly come down the others because they had mechanical rooms to stop everything. You have, you know, if you go up the towers, you have to get off, go through the mechanical room, then get to the next elevator up. So, what they explain in the 9/11 report, commission report, is this fireball came down and did all this damage on the 72nd floor, 42nd floor. The lobby was just blown apart. Before, even the gas station was blown up. So, one fireball doing this is an absolute impossibility. And this is the 9/11 Commission report, and they don't even mention Building 7. So this is one little line that took maybe 30 seconds to write in the 9/11 Commission report. That's when I decided to become a very, not radical, but very outspoken critic of this government. The fact that we can have an investigation on that, on my son's
asleep.
death, and spend one line describing what happened. And it's not even close. And of course, that's what Richard came, when he finally came out with all this. It's just self-explanatory. So it's not a matter of who did it or why I did it, but the fact is,
Doesn't pass my
I can
head.
say honestly, and I will, I go around the world talking about that. Muslims have nothing to do with just my son's death. And we're killing millions of Muslims. Because unless we can prove they put the detonations or the explosions in there, then they're out of the picture, as far as my son's death's concerned. And that's my story, and that's what I want people to hear. So at least they can start thinking about, gee, something really happened here. And they gotta start it, but they just don't want to put the time in there, they can't put the time in. So that's it. So I'm very happy about this, the fact that I'm a plaintiff going against the FBI. And the thing is, the FBI, we're talking about Mueller. I mean, that's why he was hired back in the 90s, to cover up for Iran-Contra. He's a hitman as far as covering up things. That's why he was brought in. I was with the Jersey girls when we went down to see him once. And I was so livid, I really wanted to hit him. Because he says, there's nothing to see here. I mean, here we're all, down here talking about 9/11, there's nothing to see here. It just passes along like, and I remember the FBI agents there, they came up to me. I really had to, be restrained. I was so ticked off. And they were so nice, but, everybody knows this, but we just can't get it out there. The press, the TV, it's a matter that people just kind of want to know what happened. And if you don't want to know that, then it's so impossible.
I was unaware of Robert Mueller's role in Iran-Contra. What was he doing in Iran-Contra?
He was he's just a district attorney. And well, they covered it up. I don't know if you know Iran-Contra. I'm
Sorry.
not doing the whole story about that. But he was assigned to cover it, or he's a district attorney.
Well, and of course, William Barr was the attorney general when that was all happening.
Well, you are.
I know.
Barr was the attorney
All right, well,
general. Robert Mueller was the assistant attorney
Well,
general.
and look at that, and they're the same people that are around now.
Well, Mueller was serving as the FBI chief.
That's
Yeah.
forward to 2001. I'm saying
Yeah,
in
this-
1993.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
William
Yeah.
Barr was the attorney general under President Walker Bush.
Also, TFTP previously reported a monumental step forward in the relentless pursuit of 9/11 truth. It took place last December when the United States Attorney agreed to comply with federal law requiring submission to a special grand jury of evidence that explosives were used to bring down the World Trade Centers. Then in March, the group behind the submission, the Lawyers Committee for 9/11 Inquiry, announced the filing of a petition supplement, naming persons who may have information related to the use of said explosives. According to architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth, the 33-page document contains 15 different categories of persons who may have information material to the investigation, including contractors and security companies that had access to the World Trade Center towers before 9/11, persons and entities who benefited financially from the World Trade Center demolitions, and persons arrested after being observed celebrating the World Trade Center attacks. What's this? 5G. I don't know about all of that. So I plan to vote for Trump in 2020. I don't know what I'm going to do in 2020. I don't even know if I'm going to be alive in 2020. We'll see. A name's redacted version of the petition supplement, which was filed with the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York on February 14, 2019, had been made available to the public. The unredacted version filed with the U.S. Attorney today will remain undisclosed in the interest of maintaining the secrecy, security, and integrity of the grand jury proceeding. As TFTP reported in December, for the first time since 9/11, the federal government is taking steps to hear evidence that the explosives may have been used to destroy the World Trade Centers. The Lawyers Committee for 9/11 Inquiry successfully, in red, that must be a link, submitted a petition to the federal government. I bet that's a link to the petition. Is that a link? Something's happening out there. Oh, hoo-ah. 26 November 2018 press release response from Department of Justice. Lawyers Committee for 9/11 Inquiry, LC for 9/11. Read, download the first amended grand jury petition here. Browse petition exhibits here. For immediate release, November 26, 2018, United States Grand Jury agrees to comply with federal law requiring submission to special grand jury of report by Lawyers Committee and 9/11 victim family members of the yet-to-be-prosecuted 9/11 related federal crimes. You can read that on your own. I'll put the link to the article in the description. As you can see, there's probably another link to something similar. 8 months for the reply, the U.S. Attorney responded in a letter noting that they will comply with the law. We have received and reviewed the Lawyers Committee for 9/11 Inquiries, Inc.'s submissions of April 10th and July 30th, 2018. We will comply with the provisions of 18 U.S.C. 3332. 18, that's 666, and 333 squared is 666, right? 333 times 2. I mean, that right there is just so obvious. Well, we have 7, 30, 2018, so 1 and 8 is 9. Split the 2 into 2 ones. You've got a 9/11. Just crazy. According to the petition, dozens of exhibits were presented as evidence that explosives were used to destroy all 3 World Trade Centers. The Lawyers Committee, April 10th, 52-page original petition. So notice we've got a 7 pattern here. This is 4 and 10 is 14. Okay, what's 14? 7 times 2. 7 plus 7 is 14. And then you got 5 and 2 is 7. And you got 5 and 7 is 12. So 12 is actually 6. So it looks like anything that's coming from the side investigating is related to 7, and anything that the investigating side is investigating is related to 666 and 9/11. Of course. How's that for a frickin' mind F, you know? That just blows my mind. Exhibits and presented extensive evidence that explosives were used to destroy the three World Trade Center towers on 9/11. That evidence included independent scientific laboratory analysis of World Trade Center dust samples showing the presence of high-tech explosives and or incendiaries. Numerous first-hand reports by first responders of seeing and hearing explosions at the World Trade Center on 9/11, expert analysis of seismic evidence that explosions occurred at the World Trade Center's towers on both 9/11 prior to the airplane impacts and prior to the building collapses. Look at that. Wow. Yeah, that's some detail, man. The World Trade Center towers on 9/11, both prior to the airplane impacts and prior to the building collapses, and expert analysis and testimony by architects, engineers, and scientists concluding that the rapid onset symmetrical near free fall acceleration collapse of these 3 World Trade Center high-rise buildings on 9/11 exhibited the key characteristics of controlled demolition. There it is right there, boom. Okay, that's great. I mean, it's horrible. But the fact that they're bringing it to the surface is great. The July 30th amended petition included the same evidence, but also addressed several additional federal crimes beyond the federal bombing crime addressed in the original petition. The Lawyers Committee concluded that in the petitions that explosive and incendiary devices that had been pre-placed at the World Trade Center were detonated, causing the complete collapse of the World Trade Center Twin Towers and Building 7 on 9/11, and the resulting tragic loss of life, and that the evidence permits no other conclusion. As a matter of science, as a matter of logic, and as a matter of law. This petition supplement is intended to assist the special grand jury by providing a roadmap for a meaningful investigation into the yet-to-be-prosecuted 9/11 World Trade Center crimes that the Lawyers Committee has reported and documented in our petitions. Attorney David Meiswinkle, president of the Lawyers Committee's Board of Directors, said finally, after nearly 2 decades of ridicule, dismissal, and outright intolerance of information contrary to the official story of what happened on 9/11, the public may finally learn the truth of what happened and who was behind it. The case is pending. Old news, anybody would have a brain. They were imploded with nanothermite, and the worthless Congress and House used this false flag to pass the Patriot Act without even reading it. Yeah. So wow, guys, huh? Wow. And there's no new Q. I mean, it's new in that I haven't done any videos on it, but In Pursuit of Truth has one up, and I think Praying Medic has one up. That's all good. So I put that up there. Hey, I just want to like to say something for this fellow, Steve from @CoolHandFluke76. So I'm praying for Steve. I'm asking people to pray for Steve. Steve does not believe in Jesus Christ, and Steve is a mocker, and he finds my attempts to reach him entertaining. He's told a few very wonderful people that are trying to reach him too, that they're wasting their time, to fuck off, all that sort of thing. But I just want to say, hey Steve, it's me, Jay, and I wish you the best. I'm praying for you, and I know when I'm sending a message, we can't really see the facial expressions and what the context behind the emotional arrow is. So I just want you to know I'm sincere, and I really believe that within 60 days, you're gonna meet Jesus. You're gonna have a wonderful divine appointment, and it's gonna be life changing. It'll be great. So, I wish you the best. God bless you, Steve. God bless you, @CoolHandFluke76. He's not a flat earther, not a spiritual dude, kind of worships himself. But, didn't we all? Weren't we all? Before we knew Christ, before we came to Jesus, didn't we used to do stupid things, say ignorant things, say hurtful things? I hate to sound like a cliche, but hurt people, So, Steve, if I've hurt you, I'm sorry. I don't want that. But I do think that we could be good friends. I do think that, you know, it's pretty cool that you're out in Leeds, England, if you are. Your picture, you kind of look like this friend I used to have named Paul Criz. Had a bit of a falling out over a song. A song that we all wrote. So, anyway, just want to say thank you for watching, and please share my videos. I know that I'm not all super high tech. I'm just now getting to learn Streamlabs. I'm just now beginning to understand kind of how it works. I hope the audio turned out okay on this, because I've been experiencing some weird issues with my audio. You know, echoes and feedbacks and all that. I don't exactly know how to adjust it. It's not the same as recording music. It's very different, especially when you're doing like a live video. So I'm sure I could get rid of all of it by just switching to headphones. Oops. But I don't really want to wear headphones when I'm doing a report on an article or something. So, you know, it's just me. Maybe I might have to. Who knows? This is my good friend here. Oh, which is still attached to the charger. This is my good friend. My good friend Nikon P1000 and his support team tripod. This camera's pretty awesome, man. I want to tilt back, wrong, tilt back like that. So this is my go-to for moon videos, moon pictures, pictures of the stars in the night sky, long distance pictures. It's great if you're a flat earth type of person like myself. I like to say I'm a biblical earther. I picked that up from I think Nathan Roberts' biblical earther, because the Bible is pretty clear that the earth is flat. And I'm not making this a flat earth video. I just kind of want to share my tools and, you know, let some folks get to know who I am and why I say the things I do and do what I do. So, God bless you richly today, and, you know, I'll talk to you soon, man. All right?